Chapter 195. 9 Revolutions Zhuang Gong. Wang Tixiong sniffed and resumed his seat, saying, "In that case, Brother Jin had better hurry up and ask that eunuch to come in. Don't keep people waiting." The Jin family head nodded. Then he informed an underling. Soon that underling came with a eunuch, who held a golden-colored scroll of words in his hands, and came with a smile on his face. This eunuch, "Does the state lord have anything to command Jin?" The Jin family head inquired curiously. As the head of the Jin family, one of the 4 great families in the Great Tang Kingdom, he often received holy orders from the lord of the kingdom, so he was already used to it. However, today was out of his expectation. This eunuch smiled and shook his head, saying, "The Jin family head is mistaken. This holy decree is for the Heavy Iron King." Heavy Iron King. The Jin family head sniffed with a puzzled expression. When did the Great Tang Kingdom have this king with a different surname? Even Wang Tixiong on the side was very puzzled. He only knew about Heavy Iron City. He hadn't heard of Heavy Iron King yet. The eunuch looked at their expressions and explained with a smile. The lord of the country is precisely the one who enthroned Wang Lao as the Heavy Iron King. Here, the holy decree is clearly written in black and white above, saying so. He handed the holy decree to Wang Tixiong. The Jin family head on the side was stunned at the words, enthroning Wang Tixiong as the Heavy Iron King. What a great honor this is. This time the lord of the country has really put his blood into it. But it's also right, by virtue of Kangchong worshipping the law enforcement elder as his teacher. It should indeed be so. Wang Tixiong was first dumbfounded when he heard the words. Then he trembled and took the holy decree, opened it and saw that it was indeed to enthrone him. This, he didn't know what to say for a moment. Just so inexplicably became the heterosexual prince of the Great Tang Kingdom, and the status was no worse than the head of the Jin family. Wang Tixiong's heart turned over. How could he have never imagined that he would have this day? "Brother Wang, this is a good thing. Why don't you quickly thank the kingdom lord?" The Jin family head looked at the dumbfounded Wang Tixiong and hurriedly reminded him. Only then did Wang Tixiong reflect and hurriedly bowed his thanks in the direction of the palace. "Mr. Wang thanks the state lord for the reward." The eunuch smiled all over his face as he said, "Heavy Iron King, this time, the state lord has not only enthroned you as the Heavy Iron King, he has also rewarded you with a royal mansion, which is not far away from the Jin family. There will be guards to take you there in a moment, so I'll take my leave first." Having said that, his footsteps did not move by half, still eyeing Wang Tixiong. Wang Tixiong nodded at his words, but in his heart, he was wondering about this eunuch's expression, or the Jin family head on the side knew the mystery. He took out a piece of extremely high-grade spirit stone and handed it to the eunuch and smiled. "Eunuch, take your time to leave. This extremely high-grade spirit stone is not a token of respect." When that eunuch saw the extreme-grade spirit stone in the hands of the Jin family lord, his eyes instantly straightened, his eyes glowing as he said, "Don't worry, Heavy Iron King. The matters of the royal mansion will be arranged immediately by the slave, and you will be able to come over to receive it at any time. In addition, servant has also arranged some servants and guards for you. You will receive them together at that time." Saying that, he handed down that piece of extremely high-grade spirit stone under his hand without a trace. Wang Tixiong, who was beside him, suddenly had a dawning look on his face, and he glanced at the Jin family head with a face full of gratitude. "So many thanks to the eunuch," Wang Tixiong said. "Heavy Tai Wang is polite. This is all slave's share of work. You guys continue to be busy. Slave will go and arrange things for the royal residence." The eunuch left with a smile on his face. Wang Tixiong looked at his back and secretly sighed. It is true that money is good. If there is no money, family head's piece of extremely high-grade spirit stone, I'm afraid that the king's mansion would just be an empty mansion, not a single servant or guard. Brother Wang, now that you have become a Heavy Iron King, Jinmu doesn't have the face to continue to keep you as an elder in the Jin family, but we are still friends in the future. If there is anything, you can just come to the Jin mansion to find me," the Jin family head said with a smile. Brother Jin is courteous. The kindness of the Jin mansion's knowledge of Mr. Wong will not forget. Wong Tixiong said with a face full of solemnity at his words. The Jin family head was instantly filled with smiles. This was what he wanted to hear. He didn't care about Wong Tixiong's repayment of favors, but the Kang heaven behind Wong Tixiong was what he wanted to flatter, especially since his son was still in the Heavenly Dao sect. If he had Kang Qian to take care of him, he would definitely have a great future. Unlike Wong Tixiong, the Jin family head was very clear about the energy of the Elder of Law Enforcement in the Heavenly Dao sect. It was definitely a worldly powerhouse that the entire Heavenly Dao sect would have to shake 3 times even if he stomped his foot. After chatting with the Jin family head for a while, Wong Tixiong returned to his own place and began to pack up his things, preparing to move to the Wong mansion. He sighed in his heart when he and Kang Qian had wandered from Heavy Iron City. But he didn't want to become the king of the Great Tang Kingdom today, which was much higher than the status of his former Wong family head. Of course, Wong Tixiong knew clearly in his heart that the source of all this was his own precious grandson, Kang Qian, and the country's lord had only enthroned him for Kang Qian's face. "Jonna, Grandpa is considered to have completely dipped into your light this time. I hope that you will be able to cultivate well in the Heavenly Dao sect. I believe that our grandparents and grandchildren will be able to see each other again very soon." Wong Tixiong packed his bag and then took a deep breath as he glanced at the place where he had lived for several years before resolutely walking out of the Jin mansion. Quite a few people from the Jin mansion came to see him off. There was the familiar Jin family head, as well as Master Feng Yuan, and some familiar Jin family elders. Everyone looked at Wong Tixiong with envy. These days, having a good grandson is better than anything. Dark Gold Peak. Kang Qian's cabin. A familiar figure came strolling idly. One step was 100 meters away, and in the blink of an eye, it appeared before the cabin. The visitor did not hide his aura, so Kang Qian, who was cultivating in the cabin, instantly woke up, and a trace of a strange color flashed in his 2 purple eyes. "Junior senior brother, Master has returned. Quickly follow me to meet his old man." Outside the wooden house came the voice of 3rd senior brother and a deadly water stream. Kang Qian's complexion instantly shook and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. The Elder of Law Enforcement had finally returned, which meant that he could obtain the 9 revolutions Xuan Gong. During this period of time, he had already learnt quite a lot of information about the 9 revolutions Xuan Gong, flying from his 3rd senior brother, and it was said that there were quite a few requirements if one wanted to cultivate this technique. One of which was that cultivators above the Yuanying stage could not cultivate the 9 revolutions, Xuan Gong. Only then did Kang Qian understand why the law enforcement elder had told him not to break through to the Yuanying stage for the time being, so it was to prepare for the cultivation of the 9 revolutions Xuan Gong. In his heart, he could not help but feel grateful that he had worshipped the law enforcement elder as his teacher. Otherwise, without the law enforcement elder's reminder, he would have already broken through to the Yuanying stage. And then he would not be able to cultivate the 9 revolutions Xuan Gong, even if he obtained it. "Senior brother, wait a moment," Kang Qian said in a hurry. Not long after, Kang Qian instructed Xiao Jin to continue his cultivation before leaving with Wuxia current. "Senior brother, does senior elder often go out?" Kang Qian asked as he walked. It had also been 2 months since he had arrived at Dark Gold Peak, and with the constant exchanges with 3rd senior brother, the 2 of them had grown closer. And now there was no longer any rustiness in their conversations. Rivers of water had just broken through the outblood stage long ago, and during this time he had been stabilizing his cultivation and had not gone out to do sect tasks, which was why Kang Qian had the opportunity to ask him for advice. That's not true. Normally things in our law enforcement lineage are left to the law enforcement disciples to handle. And only when we encounter things that we can't handle will we ask our master to personally take action. Rivers of water shook his head and said. Kang Chon's heart stirred as he heard this and curiously said, in that case, the enemy that Master Teacher is dealing with this time is very powerful. That's for sure. This time, Master Teacher went out to kill a peak harmonization, stage level loose cultivator. That person was really looking for death. He dared to kill our heaven's path. Sex true disciple. And thought that we didn't know about it. True disciples are the elites of our heavenly Tao sect. Each one of them is very precious. They are all set up by the elders of the division as secret markers. No matter who kills a true disciple of our heavenly Tao sect, they will be discovered by us at the first time. Running water current laughed. Peak harmonization stage. Kang Chon was shocked. This level should be the topmost cultivator in the Flood Continent's cultivation world. Even the Dan Emperor in his heyday was just like this. He didn't expect that the Elder of Law Enforcement would go out this time to kill such a strong person, which left him a little speechless. Just how powerful was the Elder of Law Enforcement? Running water current seemed to have read Kang Chon's mind and said with some pride, Senior brother isn't worrying about Master Teacher, is he? You have to know that there are many levels of harmonization stage. Those low-level harmonization stage powerhouses, even eldest brother, can kill a group of them. And a powerhouse like Senior Elder has long since been sealed as a conjunction stage invincible. Invincible at the conjunction stage. Kang Chon couldn't help but wonder. Although the law enforcement elder was powerful, was he really invincible at the conjunction stage? Seeing this, Running Water Current explained, Senior brother, I'd better talk to you about the division of the levels of the harmonization stage. In fact, it's not just the harmonization stage. The other realms are also divided in the same way. Senior brother, you probably only know that each realm is divided into 4 levels: early stage, middle stage, late stage, and peak, right? Kang Chon nodded. Such was the division of levels he knew. Rivers of water shook his head and laughed. In fact, there are several more levels above the peak. Let's take Senior brother you right now as an example. What level do you think you belong to at the Jidan stage right now? Jidan stage. Kang Chon couldn't help but fall into deep thought when he heard this. His current cultivation was at the peak level of the 9th layer of the Jidan stage. And according to his cultivation, he belonged to the peak level of the Jidan stage. However, an ordinary cultivator at the peak Jidan stage level would not even be able to take a single slash in his hands. In that case, could Kang Chon's strength still be considered peak Jidan stage? Kang Chon couldn't help but wonder. As rivers of water looked at him, he smiled and said, Senior brother, some people have powerful talents and tend to surpass others amongst their level, just like you, Senior brother. Therefore, we aren't able to divide them with ordinary ranks. Kang Chon sniffed thoughtfully. Rivers of running water continued. Generally speaking, above the peak there is the king grade. Just like above the extreme treasure weapon, there is the king grade treasure weapon. And by the same token, above the king grade, there is the emperor grade. Then I should belong to the king grade nodal stage now. Kang Chon touched his nose and said. Rivers of water shook his head and said, Senior brother, you are underestimating yourself too much. With your strength of having broken through the 7th floor of the demon locking tower, you have long since surpassed the king grade and the emperor grade. There's more above the royal level. Kang Chon couldn't help but ask. Of course there is. Above the emperor rank is invincibility, just like Master Teacher in the harmonization stage. It has long been sealed as invincible in our heavenly Tao sect. Besides Master Teacher, the 3 of them, Guardian Elder, War Elder, and Tongshan Elder, are also at this rank, Running Water Current said. Kang Chon now had some understanding. Each realm was divided into 7 levels. early stage, middle stage, late stage, peak stage, king stage, royal stage, and invincible. And he was currently the invincible existence of the Jiden stage. This statement didn't mean that Kang Tian was absolutely invincible at the Jiden stage. But at the Jiden stage, it was already hard to find a few people who were Kang Tian's rivals. That's why he was called invincible. In fact, not only Kang Tian, Dai now also belonged to the existence of invincible in the conjunctive Dan stage, while Wu Shuang, Zhao Wuji, Easy, Li Chunzhou, and the others should belong to the royal level in the conjunctive Dan stage. And Lei Yun and the others would then belong to the king level in the conjunctive Dan stage. Elder Dan, what level of the conjunction stage did you belong to in your heyday? Kang Tian couldn't help but ask the Dan Emperor, who was refining the dragon's blood pill, the reverse heavenly cauldron. Dan Emperor's rare old face turned red as he laughed and scolded. What's the brat doing prying into this? Forget it. I'd better tell you. Even if I was in my heyday, I can only be considered as a harmonization stage king level after all. I'm an alchemist. There's no way to compare it to those fighting maniacs. I can only rely on eating pills to last longer than them.